Hi, Alchemist. Welcome to your doorway of understanding. If you've already chosen which doorway is right for you, you can look at the timestamps below and go ahead and jump to your reading. If not, I'm going to just go ahead and show them to you a little closer. Doorway number 1. Doorway number 2. Doorway number 3. Let's begin the great work. Hi, Alchemist, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 1. Today you chose rare knowledge. This kitsune, nine-tailed fox, very wise but very wily, right? And I feel like as you're dealing with people in your life, you often find that your knowledge, your emotional intelligence is not matched in other people. And when that happens, it can cause a huge imbalance, right? Because you are trying to look at situations through a mature emotional lens, but some of the people around you, just that's not even on their radar. Yeah, you hide multitudes. Inside you are so many interesting things, interesting pathways. You might feel like that you have a simple exterior, but a complex inner life. And that causes people to not really get you. And honestly, it's a real shame because you have so much to offer the world, so much creativity, so much maturity, so much spark, so much intelligence. And when other people don't, that triggers other people, okay? So because they're looking for that in themselves, and when they don't find it and they see it shining bright in you, it can trigger them really bad, right? So just by existing as yourself, you can trigger people that you love a lot. And it's not your fault. In fact, like the more that you glow up, the more that you raise your frequency, the more likely that this is going to happen more often. Some people will flock to you like you're the brightest thing on the planet. And some people will, like I've said before, run away screaming into the sunset because that person's not ready to deal with somebody who has the emotional maturity and the complex depth that you offer because they're too scared to face that in themselves. Reunion of souls. Okay, well, this tells me that the person who you trigger a lot in your life is somebody that you do have a deep soul connection with. And soul connections can mean that you're supposed to be together in this life, whether that's as a family member or a friend or something. But it can also mean that you're meant to trigger things in each other in order to heal and grow. Now, that is not justification for the kind of people who, say, use twin flame ideation as an excuse to stay in a toxic relationship. Ooh, 7 of Swords jumped for that. Yep, this is the exact energy I was talking about. Don't use that as an excuse to tolerate really crappy behavior from other people, right? Because some people will use like the twin flame idea or something to say, oh, you need to stay with this person because you're teaching each other so much. Well, if you can learn it without having to go through hell and back, you should try to do that for sure. All right. This rare knowledge, I feel like you've seen it as a burden in the past. Like, why don't other people understand me? Why can't I get the attention in the way that I want it? Because you are so intelligent and you have a unique way of looking at things. And that unique way is not really appreciated by a lot of the people in your life. In fact, you've learned to shut it down a lot rather than let it out in order to be criticized by some of the people that, like I said, your light just naturally triggers. Look at that. Exactly. You turn inward. Your light is so bright, but you'd rather be alone with that light than to shine it in front of people who are undeserving. And that is a huge evolution for you. And we'll see in a second if you're in that process or if it's already happened. And remember, with this reunion of souls and with the Seven of Swords, you are not required to stay with somebody or near somebody or have someone in your life who might be part of your soul family on the other side, but is here to trigger you, or vice versa. So if they're not serving your highest path, or you feel like you're not serving their highest path, you can let that go and understand that it was a lesson for a certain time in your life, right? Yeah, the cards are reading exactly that. So Queen of Swords, like cutting through the nonsense. So the Hermit, this energy has given you an opportunity to turn inward and understand the value of the light that you shine on the world. And as you're transmuting to this Queen of Swords energy, that energy is about cutting through the nonsense, understanding your worth and your sovereignty, and that your rare knowledge is this huge gift to the world. And by transmuting the expectations around this, or what you remember how people treated you around this, by being able to transmute that into this Queen of Swords energy, you will be able to rise above that. And then anything like the Seven of Swords energy won't affect you anymore. And you'll start attracting higher level communion with higher frequency spirits and souls, so that you can learn higher level lessons, which is where you're sitting in your life, right? This rare knowledge, all this inside of you, shows that you are ready for higher level lessons. But you've got to cut through this programming. You've got to cut through. When other people are triggered by you, it's not about you, right? It's about them. So if your multitudes causes them to lash out to try and make you smaller, then that's about their insecurity, right? It has nothing to do with your actual brilliance, your vibrancy. And they have that vibrancy in them too, but so many people are too scared to dig into it because there's so much work that has to be done to dismantle conditioning and different things in our lives, that to get to that place is actually very challenging. So most people just kind of give up ahead of time, or they're too scared to face those wounds, or they don't even realize that they're there. Yeah. Yeah. By cutting through this, you're going to really step into your Nine of Pentacles energy. And this is just, your independence, depending on yourself, both internally and externally. You know this already. It just feels like that you haven't been able to bridge your mind and emotions and have that, mind-heart coherence. And when you can align your mind, your body, your emotions, and your spirit, then you will rearrange your life around that frequency. And that sense of empowerment and independence shown in these two cards means that you can transmute this rare knowledge into something that shines a light on the world in the way that makes you comfortable. This being right under the Seven of Swords, yeah, there's just so much baggage and weight around this because people have just taken this knowledge, like you would give really good advice and people wouldn't listen, and then their lives would get really messed up, and then that would affect you, because if you care about people or you're close to people and their lives are kind of spiraling, it's going to affect you too. So there's so much that has gone on between you and this person or people who your brightness triggers that has left a really, really sharp emotional scar on you and in you. And I just want to let you know, with this energy in the center of your spread, you're using this rare knowledge and this sort of hermit period in your life to transmute this kind of energy so that you may still trigger people, but it's not going to affect you the same way. You're going to be able to say, okay, I understand that that has nothing to do with me. And you know, with your rare knowledge that and your discernment, that if you're actually doing something wrong that needs an apology or needs, to be adjusted, you know that. So you don't have to worry. Yeah. 10 of Cups energy. And look at this, pure victory. It's going to be such a game changer for you in both your personal and romantic life if you want that, but also just in your life in general and your career. Basically, by transmuting this feeling that you're triggering other people is your problem and that you need to make yourself smaller, by transmuting that into understanding what problems, what issues, what tasks are yours compared to what tasks are other people's. Your task is to be yourself while doing your best not to hurt yourself or other people. That's your task. And if that triggers other people, then that's something that they need to work on. And it's not your job to try and fix this or to tolerate this kind of energy that is really destructive. All right, Alchemist. Thank you for joining me for the great work today. Please comment below if this resonated with you, and like and subscribe if you feel like that it is the right thing for you to do. Well, there was a little alarm there. That was interesting. I have no idea what that was. And we'll just say that is a sign that you should really pay attention to this and transmute this in your life. There you go again. I'll see you next time. Hello, Alchemists, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 2. You chose willing entanglement. And what a powerful card this is for so many reasons. In life, a lot of times, I feel like you say, oh, I'm going to make myself a little smaller, or I'm going to attach myself to this person, even if somehow you know that maybe it's not going to be a healthy attachment or that it might not serve your highest good. And a lot of times you'll find out later that even though it was not a great thing, it gave you it was the catalyst for some growing that you felt like you really needed to do. There's a sort of a melancholiness about this. It's sort of like, I chose this path and it's difficult. But I think the caution here is that if you make yourself smaller because of willing entanglement, in the sense of like someone else is triggered, and you have, maybe created a trauma bond with them or a lighter version of that, then you might feel like, oh, I've just got to see this all the way through, like a sunk cost fallacy. But really, it's important that if you're doing this, you're very aware of the cost to yourself so that you don't find out 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road that you sacrificed a huge part of yourself just to make someone a teeny tiny bit more comfortable in a way that actually did not even help them. Because a lot of times if you trigger somebody and then you make yourself smaller so that they feel more comfortable, it actually hurts them, because then they aren't growing into the kind of person that can handle any kind of or adapt to any kind of adversity. Now, let's see what your shadow says today. Yeah, making yourself small, making yourself hide away, feeling like maybe you're policed by a certain person in your life. Yeah, you really trigger this person. They get super upset anytime that you speak your voice. And it's interesting because it doesn't necessarily mean that they're like loud and yelling. They could be, but it could mean like they use their sense of authority to make you feel smaller. And if that's the case, then a lot of times what happens is that they have trained you to tie yourself up, to quiet yourself. And the entanglement with them keeps you so confused that you don't necessarily know how to disentangle that. Or a lot of times the entanglement happens, whether it's family or a relationship, it happens before you even realized what happened. So you don't even know it is going on. You just feel like there's a sense of something wrong. But this is a very intense energy. So if you're feeling drawn to this and connecting to this, you should really evaluate the foundation of whatever relationship this is talking about so that you can think through whether this willing entanglement is something that is serving your highest good and whether you're willing to let go of things that aren't serving you anymore. Psychic development. Yes, I get this sense that this has been coming up in your mind a lot and that this is the catalyst for actually a big spiritual renewal for you because it'll help you transcend from this sort of entangled energy. Like if you were playing a game, like a football game or something, I don't know. I don't do sports, and everyone's down on the field and they're just mired in this manufactured drama because honestly, most drama is manufactured. The world throws stuff at us, but the way people handle it, and also a lot of times people will just make up stuff because they can't handle looking at themselves. So creating drama and making it someone else's fault makes it better. But by clearing this space in your life and making sure you're not entangled in things that aren't serving you or things that put you down, it'll actually really help with your spiritual development. Like it'll skyrocket it. And I would say also pay attention to dreams that are giving you messages, signs and synchronicities, affirming whatever decision you're looking to make. Yeah, there's a new opportunity for you on the horizon if you can let this go. Very grounded energy in the sense that like she's up off the ground. But we're getting other grounded energy here. So you need to ground yourself in reality in the sense of seeing this more clearly, not that you did anything wrong, but what can you do best for yourself now? You learned what you needed to learn and what is next for you. Look at this, a lot of new beginning energy here with the Fool, Page of Pentacles, psychic development. You really are ready to move away from whatever it is that is causing you this distress because you're triggering somebody in your life who really just cannot handle. They have such a small emotional capacity. They might even be very deep, but their emotional capacity of processing it is so low that when you show your depth, it freaks them out too much. And that is not your fault. And a lot of times we become entangled in these situations, either by being born into a family where there's a person like this, or by getting into a relationship with a person like this before we realize what it even means. Yeah, this is going to take some study. You're going to need to take some time to really reflect and see. You can't see this clearly, right? You need to take a step back and see if you can clear your mirror on this. Go to some trusted friends, go to some trusted family, people who are not in this situation, who can look at it objectively. Heck, ask some people online, ask some people in this community, their opinion anonymously. Because a lot of times all it takes is one person externally to show you what the situation is really looking like. Because it's easy to get caught up inside the situation and start normalizing it. You are so strong. You have got this. And make sure that you get the proper help you need throughout this process, because you do not want this. You don't want to fall back into the same thing. You don't want to fall back in line when that line is really destructive to you. Really destructive to you. It's going to be challenging because these kinds of entanglements, they happen easily, but they don't disentangle easily because they tangle up your mind, right? You get so tangled up in your mind that you start, I don't know, you start acting or telling that person that what they're doing and telling yourself that what they're doing is normal and that you're overreacting because they keep telling you, or at least showing you in their actions, that you are overreacting, but you're not. Look at that. So on the other side of this is the peaceful, loving, stable environment that you deserve and that you want, but you have to work through this. If you're ever confused in a relationship for long periods of time or even short periods of time, you need to reevaluate that, right? Because in a healthy relationship, even if there will be conflict, but you have a framework of working it out in a healthy way. And so if this person that you're triggering really bad is not coming to you and they're keeping you confused and you're having nights like this and they're just keeping you in on this roller coaster and you don't know what to do, but you feel so entangled that you can't let go. You really need to evaluate that if you're confused. Now, you are so strong. You wouldn't be getting these cards if you were not an extremely strong person. It's just time for you to take that strength and put it towards yourself instead of trying to solve the puzzle that is a person who is not ready to solve themselves. You deserve better than that. Well, this is what I have for you today, alchemists. Look at this. This is going to be hard, but at the end of the day, you've got this. So continue the great work, my friend, and I'll see you next time. Hello, alchemists, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 3. You chose bringer of change. There's somebody in your life who you're triggering pretty bad, and you are ready to let go of that cycle. These butterflies with metamorphosis, this lantern with clarity. It's almost like you had been in a holding pattern and suddenly you're getting a lot of clarity about this person or this situation. And like I said, it doesn't have to be romantic. And we have moth wings here too, so there's some shadow stuff going on here. You might have realized that this person, when they get triggered, you finally realize that it's about them and not about you. And boy, is that a huge revelation. Let's take a look at your shadow. You finally realize you're gambling with your future by waiting around for this person to make the changes that maybe they're promising they make or that you hope they'll make. And you need to have a serious conversation with yourself whether they've actually committed to these changes or if you just have been in the hope loop, hoping that they'll change, knowing you're such a good person, you see their potential, but their potential's not going to get you anywhere. And if you just being yourself and saying simple things is triggering them so bad, then you really need to reevaluate if this is, if you're willing to gamble your whole future on this person or situation, right? Because your future is your future. It's yours. And at the end of the day, no one else's life flashes before your eyes, only yours. And so at the end of the day, you're responsible for who you let into your life. And honestly, who you let into your life and what information you let into your mind are the most important things when it comes to how your life is going to move forward. So if you are with somebody, or maybe not romantically, but maybe you're close to somebody in your family, or you dated them or they want to date or whatever, and you just have that kind of little bit of a scratching feeling in the back of your head that something's not quite right, you need to explore that, because those kind of things are symptoms. Basically, your body is trying to tell you something. Your body knows when something is unsafe or wrong, and not even necessarily physically, but emotionally, and it's going to scratch away at you a little bit. So you need to figure out, like, if you've had to make yourself smaller, if you're gambling with your future, This card is inviting you to make a change for your own higher good. Slow but steady. Don't expect progress to be explosive all the time, right? Slow and steady wins the race. This spiral pattern, it's a spiral. It's not, you don't always climb the mountain straight up and down. Oftentimes, you will spiral around and you might revisit the same path a few times until you learn the lesson, and that's okay. And I feel like it also represents that in this particular connection, you feel like you're going in circles. You can definitely feel like you're going in circles. And, you might want to watch Doorway 2 because it's very similar to this, because you have to ask yourself, if I'm confused at all, is this the right relationship for me? Think about relationships you might have in your life, whether romantic or platonic. Think about those relationships and if they confuse you. And you do not need to keep relationships in your life that confuse you. It just comes down to that, because the right people are not confusing. The right people will have a framework so that when you get into arguments, you're not feeling like yourself, they're forgiving. So if you have a bad day, Hafez says, accepting yourself and understanding that sometimes it's very hard to love and be loved. And if that's the case, you need to just accept yourself where you are and give yourself grace and understand that you can forgive yourself if you feel like you wasted time or gambled your future on a person. And just don't make this mistake of, where you feel like you've invested a lot of time into something. And so you got to keep doing that. And then maybe they'll change tomorrow. Maybe they'll change the next day. You've got to do what's right for you. And if you're confused, if they're spiraling you out, then you need to evaluate, because a healthy relationship or friendship or whatever does not cause you to spiral out. And they accept you when you have your hard days, and they don't just abandon you. And I'm not talking about abusive relationship, obviously. If someone's being abusive, you just, that needs to go. But there are kinds of subtle manipulations and stuff that go on that people don't even realize they're doing. Yeah, it feels like it's a battle, right? An uphill battle. And you know that something needs to change, but it feels very hard. You feel like you've got this sunk cost. But you're ready to get into your fire energy more. So you have a powerful spirit. You're very clever. And you know that you were meant for something brighter than this. You weren't meant to be confused all the time. You weren't meant to be spiraling around somebody else's drama or trauma. You've got your own stuff to deal with. And at the end of the day, there are lots of people out there who will project their stuff on you and expect you to fix it for them, but then get angry with you even if you try. So you could go above and beyond and try to help this person, and they still just throw it back in your face. And then what happened? You did a bunch of work only to still be treated like crap. And you definitely deserve better than that. So that if this reading, this is very specific, this is resonating for you, it's time to take some time, slow but steady, and evaluate and kind of tease apart the elements of this relationship or connection and see if it's serving your higher good. And like I said earlier, one of the most important things you can do is evaluate whether it leaves you confused or not. Yes, it's time to go inward. So in order to reach this Queen of Wands state and this transformation that is coming, you're going to need some time to reflect. One of the things I like to do, I call it giving it to the night. So St. John of the Cross in the Dark Night of the Soul talks about how we sabotage ourselves because we try to control everything in our lives. And so what I do is I do this little ritual where I say I'm giving it to the night, and I say the problem that I have, and I do this gesture to push it back, like I'm pushing it into my subconscious and saying, I trust that I'm going to figure this out. Then I give myself 1 to 2 weeks to just let it simmer. And a lot of times I'll just wake up one day with the solution or with the answer. A lot of times if something has been on your mind a lot, then you find out, I mean, it's really hard to back up enough to actually see it with clarity. Five of Swords. Yeah. This connection feels like it's really dragging you down, but I think it happens so subtly that you might not even realize how much it's changed you or affected you. Do you remember there was like this trend going around a while back, and it was like, oh, I wanted to get in another relationship, and then I remembered what I looked like when I was in the last one, and it showed pictures of like before and after. Well, I'll tell you, I did that myself. I didn't post it or anything, but I looked at pictures of myself in my past toxic relationships versus now, and OMG. Seriously, if you feel like you're becoming haggard, weighted down, you need to find out if that's your stuff or if that's other people's stuff, and you need to cut that off. Don't gamble with your life. Don't gamble with your future. You are worth so much. Look at the abundance that's headed your way. This is about reciprocation. So in this connection, you are not getting reciprocation. You're pouring, 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 and you deserve to surround yourself with people that also give back. You, with this bringer of change cards, you are a gentle soul. I'm sure you're sassy. I'm sure you're snarky. I'm sure you're a lot of fun. But underneath, you are such a gentle soul. And gentle souls need givers, not takers. Because if you as a giver end up with a taker, then you give, and they take. But if you have two givers, then that can create a beautiful dynamic, right? Oh, and this is exactly why I look at these cards first. Let's see. Look at that. So I think it's Carl Jung said that, like, if your arms are wrapped around what's no longer serving you, they won't be open for what's coming for you, or something along the lines of that. So basically, if your arms are closed around this situation that's not really serving you, your arms aren't going to be open for the love that's coming into your life, that's a higher frequency, that has this giving frequency to it. And you deserve that. So if you were, and once again, this could be friendship, this could be any kind of relationship. Not everybody wants love, right? And we often trigger people in our families and in our friend groups. But love is a true possibility, whether it's romantic or platonic. Finding those high frequency people that are going to start filling out your inner circle when you are finally able to let go of the kind of toxic people that are dropping the ball. And it can feel hard because you're like, I don't want to abandon people. Well, they abandoned you long ago by expecting you to pick up all of their weight. And by all means, talk to them again and see if you can work something out if you feel called to. But remember, actions speak louder than words. If they're manufacturing drama, you need to get into some Emperor, Empress energy, into this Queen of Wands energy, and step off the playing field. Because if you do that and the manufactured drama stops working on you and you don't buy into it, you're going to see their true face. And that's exactly what you need to see. All right, Alchemist, this one was pretty specific and pretty serious, but you've got this. You're so strong. Please comment below and get some support from the community. And let us know how you're navigating this. These are big changes, but you are more than up for the task. Look at that. There's such peace and grace in this card. I'll see you next time.